Jessica.
And then you might end up, hold on, let's see here. I'm just going to pick, well, that's a handful of the names. Swearingen? Okay, so I'm going to pick this person. So I'm just impersonating that user, and I'm going to explain why in just a second, but just recall between you and I that her name was Cynthia, okay?
Okay.
So now the first thing that I do when I kind of am trying to understand what's going on is I usually will preview the product and kind of see what the functionality is behind it. So I'm going to click preview and step you through some of the things that are happening. So I can see that you have a color scheme and an image, and unfortunately, Zach, I wasn't able to get my hands on like those files that you're using for the color scheme and image, but I imagine that you have them somewhere, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about those files for sure and why they're coming through here. But one of the things that was enabled was instead of like a text drop down where it says like blue, green, orange, red, what you guys have chosen to do in this case is have just the gallery of images for people to pick from. So I'm going to go with the red. And then you've done the same thing here. You've got a gallery of images for them to choose from. And I'm going to pick this lovely, I don't know what this person, I thought he was fishing. We'll pick the handshake here. And then my main title, I'm just literally going to get literal so you can see exactly where things are coming in and where they show up, which I think you understand all of this, but body copy, I'm going to type. And it looks like, by the way, you guys could incorporate a calendar widget here if you wanted to so that people don't have to type a date in.
Okay.
Just a thought. 11 a.m. I'm going to say address, city, date, and the, and then I'm just going to refresh this. So what's happening is these are all things that we've asked our user to fill out, but you and I both know that Cynthia was not asked to put her name anywhere in this information because she's mapping in as a user. So obviously everything that you can see she picked with the color, the background, the title, body copy, subtitle, it's pretty easy to see where all that stuff finds its way in. But then we've also got Cynthia's like kind of personal details coming in from here, as well as I believe you guys have got some disclaimers and some logos and stuff that are being powered off of Cynthia's user as well. Yes, so what's happening with these fields, and these ones are hopefully like, maybe obvious isn't the right word, but hopefully you kind of understand like where these fields are populating on this. But you'll notice on the back end that there's these drop downs when it comes to first name, last name, title, and everything really like kind of from that point down that are what's called a text profile attribute. And that is the information that's mapping over from your user database. So for you to understand like where these text profile attributes are, the first thing that you would do is when you're setting these templates up, after the Fusion Pro part of the process, you're going to drop down here and choose text profile attribute single line for everything that you want to have map over from the user level. And so are you familiar at all, because I don't know that we covered text profile attributes in the basic training, but do you have an idea of what they do?
Kind of. They're the attributes that I think Paul and Rhonda set up that are over in the users, I believe.
Yeah, so we're using Cynthia in this case. I really want to tie this part of things together while we're looking at this. So since we're using Cynthia, just note here that it's a text profile attribute. So if that has been chosen from the drop-down list here for that field, the way that that comes over is set up in your users tile. And so I've got your portal users tile, and then there's a drop-down there that's called profile attributes. And that drop-down under profile attributes is what lines everything up to feed into that template for Cynthia.
Okay.
And so we're going to just wait for this to load for a second. And so you can see here the what's called the attribute name is first underscore name. So when you built this, Zach, or I mean, in theory, it wasn't you, but when whoever built this on the template level, the field name, as you would imagine, is first name, and that gets inserted into the PDF wherever you want that attribute to live. So Does that kind of make sense that that gets tagged in the spot where Cynthia's name would go?
Yeah, and that links back to the text file of the Fusion Pro, correct?
Yes, it does. Absolutely.
And so they all, and I never changed the naming convention. I honestly, I just kind of copy and paste the not copy and paste, but I pull in the DEF file and the DIF file from previous versions so that I don't mess up anything. So, and the text file, and I just make the changes that I need to in the Fusion Pro. So I'm not actually changing anything, but in the future, if I ever did change anything, I would have to make sure that the profile attributes and the text file naming conventions match up, correct?
Yes, and that's match up very exactly. So like capitalization, spaces, all that stuff will matter because the computer is looking for an exact match between the two. So that's super important for you to understand. And it sounds like you do, so that's great news. So here in the user, like I can click on this upload user assignment, and then I just want you to see this because it's even more of kind of like an aha moment. So I have chosen, I could also go to the bulk operations tile. It doesn't matter how you get here, but the spreadsheet that we want in bulk operations is text profile attributes user assignment. And then in this case, I'm not uploading a worksheet. I'm going to download the existing values. That's why I'm choosing this, just to show it to you.
Okay.
And this is something that you have access to manipulate and change if you need to. And in here is where the login name lives. Oh, I'm going to enable edit. So this is just a numeric value. Don't worry too much about this, but every user gets a numeric value. This might have something to do with like how your stuff is set up. It looks like there's a little bit of a pattern that goes with these. And then it's the first name and the last name and the TPA name. So the TPA name is the text profile attribute name. So what's going to happen is the template will look for, the template, once it's brought into Marcom, will look for this column of address 1, and it will say, well, what do you want me to put for address 1 if it's Marla Loggins that's the user? And so boom, you can see here, and you can see these, it's hard to see, but there's the TPA conventions. So we've got an address that's going to come over for her, and then this is the content that's going to live there. So if I chose, instead of Cynthia, if I chose Marla Loggins as my user, which gets mapped over based off of this numeric value, then this is what would show up for address 1, this would show up for address 2, wherever it was in Fusion Pro that you said these values lived. These are the values that are going to show. And then what's it's really important to you from a compliance perspective is this column here that says if it's locked or unlocked. So obviously if it's locked, it means that Marla can't change that. She doesn't even have access to see it. But for example, like this cell phone number is unlocked. Marla could go in and edit that cell phone number if she wanted to. So that's how you have all the control of locking and unlocking.
Okay. And, and if I were to lock it, and it would affect the template setup, or I would have to go in and match it up in the template setup?
No, that wouldn't affect the template setup at all. The Fusion Pro part of things would still look and feel exactly the same, whether it's locked or unlocked. The only thing that would be different is really at the Marcom level.
Okay.
And then you also have like visible or hidden, and you can change these values in Marcom as well. And then anything that's gray, by the way, I'll just point out, don't change it. Like don't touch it, don't edit it, don't add an extra space to it, because that will cause your spreadsheet to get rejected. Okay. So this might be something that's brought over, because I'm seeing these values here. This might be something that's brought over from like your existing, whatever it is, however your users come. You said Cobble, was that the word you used, I thought?
Yeah, Cabo. It's I don't know why it's named Cabo. It was named that before I got here, but it's basically our database that has all our employees in it and all their NMLS numbers, disclaimers, all that kind of stuff.
Got it. So I'm wondering if this numeric value speaks to Cobble. That might have been something that that we set up, with, like that Jessica and our tech team would have set up for you as like a one-time thing.
Yeah, and so this goes through all of our employees, correct? Because I see a bunch of names for James, and so I imagine that it's for everyone. Okay.
And I was looking at it, looks like there's like 50 different attributes for each person potentially out there.
Yeah,
so,
it's mainly for the disclaimers.
Yeah.
So I think they're named disclaimer 1 through 20, because I think the most anybody has would be 20 disclaimers. But yeah, this makes a lot of sense now that I'm looking at it. We didn't go through the bulk operations like this. We kind of touched on the profile attributes, but Rhonda and Paul really got into it. So this makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, so this is where the matching game is playing. And then, you know, I know that you know how to build templates. So what happens when you're done building a template? Let's imagine that this is the template that you've built, and you've done a great job of like tagging all the values. And so I think you've got an understanding of how to do like the actual inserting of each one of these attributes like into the template where you want it to live. And I definitely want to step back and like look at the data with you. So don't think that I'm gonna you know, assume that you know how to do that. But then you hit, when you're all done, you hit that collect button, right? And that collect button generates the 7 files, 2 of which are the def and the diff that you've been using.
Yes.
And then are you clear that those 7 files then get uploaded into Marcom?
Yes, I understand that I upload that into the Marcom whenever I make a new product. So I understand uploading it, but then after that, I don't know what else I need to do beyond uploading.
So here's what we would do for this template, and we'll stick with 107 here just to kind of stay in the same space. Because I think that you probably know what to do with the 7 files, but where you're getting confused and based on your email to me was, well, how do those images and all those pictures and stuff, like where do they get tied in?
Yeah, that's it. Because in the text file, it calls back to a path, or I guess it could be a URL for that text file. So I don't know how to make it talk to the form display and make it pop up, or even to the background tag or however it's built. So that's where I'm confused.
Yeah, and that makes sense. So Optify now was doing it a different way than we train it, and they were, and so I am going to tell you the new way to do it, and that will hopefully be easier for you. So
thank you.
All I've done is just log into Marcom. In the template assets tile, I've gone to product ID 107, and this is where you would browse and upload your 7 files. So once you click that collect button, you get everything packaged together. You would browse and upload those here. The next thing that it does, though, when you do that, is it immediately, you know, it says, okay, and then asks you to continue. And what it does is it takes you straight here to form display. Okay. What it does, though, is it completely skips the images tab, which is maybe why it hasn't even, like, you know, come on your radar that you would need to do anything here, because for whatever reason, our system assumes that everything is just text-based. And so you have to go back and tell it what images live in what spot. So for example, we've got background. And so we know that there's a choice, as I shared with you earlier, I should probably get it to come back open, that there's a choice in gallery of images that are available that they can pick from these 4. And so that's what I was asking you, is do you have those files somewhere on your desktop or in a share folder or something? Because what's going to happen is all these images that are available at different points of the process, including like these same images, these are all going to need to be created in something called a library in Marcom. And so a library is simply just a, you know, a vessel that holds all the images that template's going to be working with. And so in this case, you've got really just the 2, am I right? I think just kind of like this background and then this.
Yeah, that's correct. But there's also, I believe, the NRMLA logo. Yeah. That one also gets uploaded, or that one also changes. And that one.
This one.
Well, and that's another thing I'm not sure about, because that's tied, I guess, to the profile attributes.
I think it was
based on if they're a DBA, a doing business as, or if they're a corporate employee, it'll populate which background and which logo. So if it was, since Cynthia is a DBA, it populates the white footer and the first choice lending. But if she was a if she was a corporate employee, then she would get the blue footer and the open mortgage logo. So that again is something else that I don't know how to maintain.
Well, so that would be in that in that list of stuff that I showed you, the list of users, that's a value that lives in the list of users. And so, and so then it would pull through, and I believe, we'll look at it in just a second, but I believe it says like DBA or something, footer DBA is like one of the columns. And so then a value lives there. So as long as you tag it up in Fusion Pro for this to be a variable, then it's going to pull through for Cynthia or for Marla what value is supposed to live here. But it's your job when you create the library to think about these things. And so when you look at the piece that you're about to upload into Marcom, you'll need to think, okay, Zach, what am I dealing with as far as variable images go? So, you know, if the image is static and it's not changing, it does not need to be added to a library. But in this case, you know, we would need all 4 of these background colors to be in that library. And I'm going to show you how to create one in just a second. We would need all 15 of these choices, let's imagine. We would need this logo and the other choices of logos that are available here. So it's just gathering all those graphic elements together. And so they don't even have to be together, but you just need to know where to get them all. And once you know what the choices are going to be, then you're going to create a library. And you can see that there's a tab up here for shared libraries. And then what happens is you create a shared library here, and then it gets attached here. And the point of a library is that you can attach that library to any one of your like 200 product types. So the great thing about a library is that you create it one time, and with that one time you create it, then it can be attached and used across 17 different templates if you need to. So libraries are just kind of a great way to organize your images that are variable and to kind of house them. So forget the FTP, forget whatever path that was calling out to. Everything is going to be here at the library level, and that's, you know, in terms of like how to do it, this is where that gets done. You guys have tons of them, lots of different libraries that are here. So I'll show you how that gets attached to the template. So here, as I referenced this tab for images, you've got all these images that have been brought through from the library of, it looks like logo backgrounds, flyer backgrounds. You've got several different libraries that you're working with. This probably isn't the like perfect way to organize it. And I've got display of 25, so I have 31. So I'm just going to change this to all so I can see all of them. There we go. And so if you wanted to add more images, let's say you were going to add a hot pink background. What you would do is click Add Library Images. Then you would go to whatever library that it was in, and then you would grab that hot pink image and then check it to say that you wanted to include it, and then click OK. So this is all images where you or somebody has, you know, chosen between image backgrounds. It looks like that's one of the libraries. Most of them are from that library. And then you've also got a flyer background. So there's 2 libraries, 3, because you have a logo library as well. So these are images like you would pull through from the library, and you can select like 5 images from this library and 2 from this one and 1 from this one. So you're just looking at all your libraries and you're saying, okay, of all the libraries, what images am I going to be working with specifically on this template? And then you'll simply come through and select, you know, whichever ones you want to use. Now, the job of selecting has already been done here because this is already kind of uploaded into the system. So that's how you would do it. Now, how do you create a library? Here under Shared Libraries, you would just create a new library here. And creating a new library, I could call this and then it says simple, it's just uploading those images. So going out and getting all 10, all 15, all 35, however many images, again, are going to be variable on that particular piece. Just browsing to your desktop, getting those, and then uploading them into the system. And, you know, I've probably got something I could pull from here. Let's see. Yeah, so I've got like inside of this, I've got like a whole bunch of images. So just, you know, I'm just navigating and getting the images, clicking open, and I could browse to as many spots as I need to if I've got, you know, other stuff I need. These are all PDFs. And then just clicking upload. And that's how easy it is to create a library. So whatever they were doing with an FTP is not necessary.
Okay.
And so I will say some of the work is going to be on, on your end, that you kind of have to probably organize some of those files and get them to like one folder, or, get them to a way where you can find them and access them pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
So we understand that in training, that was kind of perfect because they were all there together. But so once I've done that, imagine that this is my set. I have this question that says, do I want to create a text list with the same set of images automatically? If I wanted a text drop down that was like April, August, December, May, of the months, I could do that. This doesn't get used too frequently, but it will always ask you that question. And then I'm going to click continue. And now I've created a library, and I could change the display name. So if the file name didn't match what you wanted it to display as in Marcom, you could always change that here. Like if I didn't want it to say, the HS just stands for headshot for Burt Reynolds. If I wanted to like clean that up, I can do that here. And you could also see the thumbnail images over here if you just click show. Those images will kind of prompt through to the right, just gives you some confirmation. So that's how to create a library. That's as simple as it is. And you can do other things like create a text list of libraries. What a text list would be, Zach, is like maybe you guys use like a drop-down list of the months of the year all the time, or you find yourself having to use the same drop-down menus over and over and over again, instead of it being an image-based gallery of things they could choose from. Maybe they choose from like all 50 state abbreviations, which I know they don't, because you guys are having that as a profile attribute. I'm just trying to think of an example. Then you would come through and create a text list of all 50 state abbreviations, and then you would never have to do that again. You could just reuse that text list and all the templates that it applied to.
Oh, okay.
And image collections just would allow you to create like subsets of images. An example of that would be the library that I just created. Zach had some headshots and it had months of the year. I could sub-organize that, almost like creating like a subfolder. So if my library was called like Training Tristan and Zach, and I needed a little subfolder of the headshots and then a separate subfolder of the months of the year, I could just separate the library into those two collections. Okay. So that's what this allows you to do. And so those are the two that, and I don't even know that, I can't think of any relevant reasons why you would need to do either of these right now. But just know that that's what they're here for. Okay. So that's how to create a library. And then I would come back to the template, and obviously I'm not going to do this right now, but I just want to show you where it would come through. So then if I was in my template ready to attach the images from that library that I just created, I would come to add library images, and I would find, the library I'm looking for, which in this case would be, Tristan and Zach's text. Here it is. That's the one I created. And then all those images will be there. Here's the months of the year and the headshots. And I could either select all of them by hitting the select at the top here, or just come between and select the 3 or 4 that I need, and then click OK, and that would add them to the template.
Okay.
So that's how to create a library and where all these images are living. So that's why these values are here. Look, here's our color backgrounds. Here's some of our top images. Here's our people shaking hands. All that's here. And again, this keeps resetting. That's kind of annoying. I'll just kind of point that out to you. You probably want to change it to all each time. And here's the other colors. Here's the logos, the dark blue, the white, and that logo. So hopefully that's kind of like oh, okay, I see now where those things are referenced in Marcom. So then what happens, let's take note here. You and I are noting that this is in the logo background. This is the footer background. So all of these are the names of different libraries. And what happens here is at the form display, where you have here image gallery. This is the image gallery. This is where that footer LO is brought through. So like, we'll go with the background here because that's like a little bit more easy to see. So the field type was chosen here of image gallery only. And the reason, again, that we chose that was because we just wanted to be able to, I lost my preview. We just wanted them to be able to only have the choice of photos instead of like also the word blue, green, red, orange. And so here, if I click background, I'm then coming to the selected images and saying, what do I want to have available? So it's looking at the library that's attached. It's saying, Zach, here's all the images that are in the library. What do you want to put for this field? And so you're saying, well, I just want to put the background ones of blue, green, orange, red. And so you just select those from this list and say, add images to drop down. And then you can also change the order that they appear in if you need to.
Okay.
And then that's what happens there. So that's where they get brought in. And then the same thing would have been done for image. And so it just gives you the whole library. And then you say, well, I don't want the whole library. I only want these, 16 pictures of people shaking hands and frolicking in fields.
Oh, okay. Okay. I understand.
Yeah? Okay, good.
Yeah, I think that when we went through the basic training and then in February, this was done on the last day. And at this point, I remember we were talking about I couldn't figure out how to get it done. You're like, well, don't worry about it because you're just doing the Fusion Pro stuff anyways. You don't need to worry about the online system. And then last month or a couple months ago when we got the Fusion Pro and Marcom training over the done remotely, I guess the guy who was doing the training kind of ran past it real fast and I didn't quite catch it. So this is really good that I'm seeing this again.
Well, and sometimes you just get overloaded in those classes too, and I totally get that because you're just getting so much information, and it is a lot. It is we're asking a lot of you in those training classes because we're asking you to learn the material, but then we're also asking you to translate the material to your workflow, which everybody has slight variances or significant variances to like how they actually do things at their company. So we do our best to like get the information across, but that's why we're always happy to do these one-off sessions separately because we get it that you might have more questions once you figure out your workflow. You're like, okay, I don't need to know these things for the training class, but these things I still want to come back to. So now do you feel like you understand libraries and their relevance and why they matter?
Yes. I understand where to put them and how to make them link to the form display. I guess I was missing the part where I can click on the name of the field and then go in and add those images into that drop down.
Yeah.
But I did have another question though. If you could scroll back to the top.
Sure.
It's so I see footer LO and footer DBA are hidden. They're active but hidden.
Yes.
So those ones I would upload, and then because this is something that it will call to the profile attributes.
Hold on, I'm changing my status to do not disturb so people stop Skyping me. Okay, sorry about that.
It's okay. So the footer and the LO, the footer LO and the footer DBA, those two in the Fusion Pro template, those two call back to the DBA verbiage field. And so if there is DBA verbiage, then it will switch to the DBA background or the DBA footer and will populate DBA. It will populate the DBA logos. So for that part, how do I? Because it's done in Fusion Pro, that it'll automatically do it here in the template setup or the product setup.
Yeah, it will. I was thinking that was something that was driven by a profile attribute, but it does not appear to be so. So that is something that's definitely tagged in the Fusion profile, and it might be why the Fusion Pro file is 2 pages because there's one version where it's white and there's one version where it's blue. That's possibly how that was done. And so that makes sense. But yeah, so that stuff is coming through automatically based on you tagging footer LO in the spot that it goes in or footer DBA in the spot that it goes in. Then everything else is kind of changing based off of that. But they're not interacting with this field, but you do definitely want to still put the graphics for those images in the library as you saw it was there.
Yeah, and so let me see. I believe that the logo colored is the image that changes based on which DBA it is. So like for Cynthia here, she's first choice mortgage. And so because her profile attribute, I guess, is linked with that that logo, I'm trying to wonder how that logo is populated based on Cynthia's DBA status. Like she's a DBA and her name is First Choice Mortgage, but we might have somebody who's also a DBA and their name is Sanding Group Mortgage. So I'm wondering how it calls that specific logo and where it calls it from.
Well, it's interesting because it's an image gallery with a drop down. So let's look and see, because it doesn't say anything about Cynthia there, you know? Her information. So there's the blue background for this one. This is turned on.
Yes.
I'll click OK here. It's like, I think if it's like it basically boils down to if it's like a yes or no. Let's see. And then here's the white.
Yes.
I think it's two pages. Somehow it's looking to see. Let me check one more spot.
It's the on record start rule in the Fusion Pro template.
Yeah, it looks like it was done as a UI rule, Zach. And so a UI rule is going to look to see yes or no to one of those values, and then it's going to populate a value based on a yes or no for that.
Is that something that I'm going to have to set up?
No, that's not something that you're going to have to set up. It's already here. If you need to copy these, then you can always come back to this one. So that use this as your example, 107.
Okay.
And it looks like there's and you can click on the rules and actually look at them. So come back to 107, it's the UI rules tab, and that's just so that you're clear. I think you probably already know this is user interface rules. Mm-hmm. And so that just creates what that does, generally speaking, is it can create drop downs that are intelligent. So like one drop down, its value is controlled by the value that was chosen before it. So let's take a look, see if I can figure this part out. Okay, so if its text reverse logo is yes, then they want you to show this version, or blank is the other option. Let's click OK here. Maybe that was the one I clicked before. Hold on, let me try the first one.
Oh, I see. They're calling back to reverse logo. So when we built this, I had talked to Fabian about the way we were going to have, because this was supposed to be, this event flyer was supposed to be one event flyer that either the forward loan officers or the reverse loan officers could go to, and they could select to turn off or on the NRMLA logo, which is a logo that's specific to anybody who's reverse. And so if you back out, the other one, it says logo reverse DBA, I think it said. Yeah, logo reverse DBA.
Yeah.
So that one has to do with the one that's on the white. So what we found out was that it was kind of confusing to the loan officers to turn on because anybody who's a reverse loan officer has to have that on there. So
yeah,
having the field available for them to choose or not choose was confusing them, and also it was a compliance issue. So if you notice that there's this same exact event flyer, but there's one in the forward and there's one in the reverse, and the one that's in the forward doesn't have that field populated at all, and the one that's in the reverse has that NRMLA logo populated.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's super confusing, and it was something that we tried to do, but it didn't work out. And rather than rebuild the Fusion Pro template, we just duplicated the product and turned one off and hid it, and turned one on and hid it.
There we go. Okay, got it. Okay.
So what I'm referring to though is the DBA logo that's in the white footer. So whenever the white footer populates, there should be a DBA logo that populates as well. So since you're using Cynthia's stuff, see how it has the blue footer and it has the open mortgage logo? But
Yeah.
if you were to refresh it, since we're in Cynthia's thing, it will change the footer to white and populate the first choice mortgage logo, or it should. I think that's what it did last time that we messed with it. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I didn't save my choices. Okay, let's see. I think I'm still mapped in as Cynthia. I haven't gone in to change it. Yeah, so now it's white.
Yeah, so now it's white and it populates the first choice lending. So that first choice lending is specific to Cynthia, I guess, profile or her user or her profile attribute. So, but anybody else that's a DBA, they'll have a different name, like Mission Mortgage or whatever it's gonna be. So I'm wondering, how do I have to put all, I don't know, I think there's like 20 DBA logos inside the libraries, or
Yes.
is it, oh, okay, so every time I'll have to put all 20
Well,
in
remember,
there, so
not every time, because you'll just create one library.
oh, well,
yeah,
yeah, but in the form display, I'll have to go into the field and then add them in there, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I'll make note of that.
But in theory, if you're using some of the same stuff and copying over and over again, that should just still be there and be good to go.
Yeah, and so that was one of the things I was concerned about when that's why I needed this training, because I didn't know where to even look or to begin with that. Okay, so I think I understand how to get this started and get it set up.
Hold on, I'm just letting somebody know that we are good to go for now. She was available if we wanted her.
Oh, for our meeting?
Yeah. She was like,
oh,
I can jump on if you need me to. Just Skype me and let me know. And so I wanted to make sure that I let her know we don't need her at this point anyway.
Yeah, I think I understand how to upload it and get it started. And then just I need to remember to make sure that those names are the same as the profile attributes. And wait, which names need to be the same? I can't affect it here. It has to be the same in the text file of the Fusion Pro, correct?
That's right. So what you're matching is what's in the user spreadsheet that I showed you from bulk operations, and you're making sure that the field name there matches what's in Fusion Pro.
Not anything that's here, correct? Because that form prompt has spaces.
Yep, so the form prompt is simply just a display name. Like I could change that to, instead of say your color scheme, I could change that to say your favorite color. And it's still calling back to the field, which is called background.
Okay.
And so you guys have chosen background to be displayed to your users as the word color scheme. So you could really make that be any sunshine and rainbows if you decided to make it that.
Okay, and so another thing that's coming up soon as well is that I had to change some of the language in the footers. So to be able to update them, I will have to go through each one and swap out the LO footer and the DBA footer image that it's calling back to. I'll have to upload it and.
That's right. Yep. And once you make that change, you're going to bring that in. You upload that into the library, and then it will be there in the library, and that's the only place that you need to change it. So you don't need to go change it like in all your Fusion Pro template files. As long as the field name stays the same, you'll just update your library, and you should just have that, one library to update, and that's it.
Okay, and so then I'll just have to upload it in the library, but then I'll have to go into each product setup and update it over here in the form display, correct?
As long as it's still like, so for example, let's say I added like the example I gave earlier where I had a new color come through. So my choices weren't just blue, green, orange, and whatever, navy. I wanted to add hot pink as well. what I would do is just go in and update the library for the background choices, whatever library that's in, add hotkeys there, and my job is done. I don't have to go back into every field and say, hey, I've updated my library. The job of updating the library should update the library, not should. It will, as long as like nothing's glitchy or broken or whatever, then it's going to update everything along with it. So that's the beauty of it, is that your job only is to update the library, and everything that calls out to that library is then going to be attached to that change as well.
Okay, well, the part that I'm confused on when you say that is that in the form display here, you had to go into the click on the underline thing where it went into the field, and you had to add it into the gallery.
Oh, got it. So this is attached. Yeah. So I'm sorry, you're right. So here's what you could also do to make that a little easier, is you could create that image collection that I was telling you about. And so, but yeah, you would still, so here, okay, I'm thinking out loud, I'm working with you here. So okay. Okay, good. Sometimes it's a process. Okay, so imagine that you were in that library, the logos, and perhaps I can even find that one really quick, so that would even make things make more sense. Let me know if you find one that has logos. Logo, well, that's background, but let's go with this anyways. So let's say this is the library. So you're in the library and you just hit the pencil to edit. You would add or upload the new hot pink color there, or in your case, the new disclaimer language. And then you would come here to create an image collection, and the name of that image collection would be, the logo background. You would create the image collection. So if I create the image collection here, then it should call out to that whole image collection. So in other words, it grabs the whole collection at that product level. So test that. I would definitely tell you to test it and make sure when you make the update that you look at 2 or 3 products that call out to that background. But it should pull the whole collection through at once, and then you wouldn't have to choose pink on every single product level, as long as you reference the entire collection.
Okay. Would that have anything to do with the naming convention of it? So if like.
Nope.
Okay.
No.
Well,
you'll still be okay
I'll
with
definitely
that.
test it out, and hopefully it works out and it's super easy and simple, and I don't have to spend all day on it.
I don't think you should. I mean, cross our fingers, And we did notice, by the way, that you have a lot of EPS images. We typically recommend that you convert those to PDF or work with PDF. So that's just kind of a thought for the future. It doesn't mean that your stuff is broken or breaking, but those can be a little more problematic than PDF. So if you kind of were looking for some best practices out of this training, that would be a tip for you.
Okay, yeah, and I noticed that, I think it was one time a while back, that whenever I linked it in the Fusion Pro text file, that it actually created a PDF instead of my EPS. So I'll make sure to do that in the future.
Yeah. Now, I definitely want to take some time to look at your data with you as well, but I didn't want to leave this topic before we kind of finish with this, but just know that that's something that I want to cover with you. Or do you want to look at that stuff now, or are you thinking you have more questions here?
No, I think I'm pretty good here based on the basic training and then what you showed me here. I say I can move through it confidently.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, that's I'm happy to shed light on things that are going to make your life easier. That's the fun of my job. So in your files, let's see if I can just open your PDF. Now, I don't have all the pictures, so it's going to be really hard for me to show you like a preview of things because I don't have all your backgrounds and all that stuff. But I did just want to look at the data with you really quick. Oh, and that's just an image here. I'm going to pull up. Sorry, that's just a background for your image. Okay, so this is just letting me know that I don't have your font, so I'm just going to replace your fonts on my desktop because it doesn't matter here. Okay, so the first thing that you normally would do in Fusion Pro, as you know, is you would bring in your data. And so your data is right now, it's what's called tag data. And that's probably because of Optify now and how they were doing things. but it does make it a little more difficult to look at and understand, and also more difficult to edit if you need to ever. So here in Fusion Pro, when you're bringing in your data at step 1, if you ever do have to work with data more extensively, I mean, I understand that what you're using works, but it is kind of confusing to like relate it back to training because your data is all tagged, and so it's really tricky to look at. Like if I were to open your data right now, cancel, this is what your data looks like. I think this is the one. This is the one that we created. So your data kind of looks like a little bit like this, and you have lots and lots and lots of different data files that you've uploaded with each one. Mm-hmm. And so what I think has been happening, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what's happening is that are you trying to create like multiple records of data when you work in Fusion Pro, or are these just really things that were like somebody did it one time and you've just been kind of replicating it ever since?
Yeah, it's the second one. This is what I was handed, and I was told that I could change in the quotation marks, the path for the graphic copy hole, so that I could see the background, and then also any of the graphic copy holes. I could change the path of those so that I could be able to see it in the preview, and then the rest of this stuff I didn't need to mess with because those were just placeholders. And so
yeah, I mean, I'm okay with you continuing to do that if it's not broken and if it's still working for you. I think that's fine.
Yeah. Just to be, I don't have to upload anything to the resources in the Fusion profile. I don't have to make any resources. I just call back to my path on my local computer. So that saves me a step, and then like loading any logos or anything like that, that is kind of, I just have to just link it to wherever I want to on my local computer, and see, this is the part where I was confused on, because this is linking to somewhere on my computer, so I was wondering if when I uploaded it, I had to link it to anywhere specific on like an FTP or a server, or any kind of URL or anything like that. But it looks like it's not that way.
Yeah, it's not. Well, it looks like it's not that way, but I don't work with tag markup files very often, so I want you to test it. And I think that's probably your intention. In the next couple of days is to go in there and play around with some of the stuff. So definitely go in and create a library and attach it there, and it should work for you. But if not, let me know, because I can step back through this process and show you how to edit or tweak this stuff. But I get what you're saying, that you're kind of like, well, it's working and I understand enough to know what's here. But typically the way that we look at the data, just so you know, like, so you see what's here in quotations and you're focused, okay, first name, last name, title. What we do is strip all the tags out of that so that it looks more like this. So then instead of, and this isn't exactly the same data that we're working with, but where you can see the field name and separated by between the field names is a tab, so you can see like background, color scheme, headshot, logo colored, first name, last name. So everything, it just removes all the tags and just makes the data like this whole first line, which you can kind of see it's wrapping because I'm in Notepad, but technically this is all one line. It contains the field names, and then we have like sample values for the field names.
So yeah, this is what we worked with in the basic training.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of how that's what we do. We're dealing with in training a flat file. You're dealing with a tag markup file, which is not wrong. It's definitely still, the system still works with it. But just let me know if you have any problems with the library stuff in conjunction with tags, because it just looks a little different. That's all.
Yeah, and from in between whenever we talked last time, not our email, but when we rescheduled the training, I had looked at some of the other products and saw that they were the images were put into library. So I'm guessing that's how it works. Is that I just upload this stuff, and then whenever I upload the libraries and I call back to it in the form display, where those images are, and I put them in the form display, they will override the location of the in the quotation marks of the graphic copy hole.
Yeah, and
That's the way I understand it.
Yeah, you're correct. My goal is not to create more work for you, and so so if it's working with the tagged markup file, it would take you, a little bit of time to change all those over to be delimited files. So there's no need to do that as long as you feel confident that you're able to still, now that you understand the libraries a little better.
Yeah, and if I'm being honest, I do like using the tag files a little bit better because I don't know, it looks cleaner, and I'm able to see exactly what goes where and what I can affect or should affect inside quotation marks. And also, I've messed with code before, so it's a little bit more familiar to me than delimited files by spaces.
Which is, and it's funny that you say that, because when I trained this, the class, if people looked at what you find to be your comfortable spot, they would freak out. they see the other as like more clean. And so it's just so interesting to think about like how people, where they get comfortable and like what they understand. So there's no need to change your practices. The way you're doing it is fine. I was just going to try to strip that down if you needed help with that, but you're good.
Yeah, and that was one of the things I brought up to Jessica originally, is that, when I got back from my training and we had done the training again here locally over GoToMeeting, and the way you and this other gentleman showed us again how it was done, and I looked at the way that it was done by Optify, I was a little confused, and I was like, well, is the way this is done the best way to do it? If not, if it's kind of broken, or if it's not, do we need to change it? And she kind of answered me, and then we kind of moved on from there, and then now we're here.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
But I'm glad that it's able to, that you were able to help me and get this done. But I'll definitely be jumping into this immediately tomorrow.
Cool.
So did you have anything else to show me? I'm sorry.
No, my job is to serve you. So as long as you're feeling confident and know that I'm available for a future session if we need to do this again, more than happy to. I usually just ask for a couple days to prep, just make sure I get a chance to speak with, other people. Sometimes I have questions too. And so, but yeah, I'm always happy to do this for you again if you need it.
Okay, definitely. And if you could just send me the recording, I don't know if you need to prepare it in any way. If you could send it to me sometime this afternoon, and I would like to obtain it by tomorrow. So whenever I get started on this, go ahead and implementing some of these new files that I need to put in. If I could have the video to reference in case I forget anything.
Yeah, definitely. I'll convert it right now. So hopefully I'll be able to get it over to you, because I was planning on being on the phone with you for a little bit longer anyway. So I'm blocked out to take care of that for you right now.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
All right, Zach. So let's stay in touch. If you need me, I'll send this file over. It does usually take maybe like 20 minutes for me to convert it, but I'll get it to you before 3 o'clock my time. So whatever that looks like for you. So you'll have it for tomorrow.
Okay, awesome. And I will definitely be in touch if I have any more questions.
Okay, thanks, Zach. It was good talking to you this afternoon.
Thank you, Tristan.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.